Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today it's time for an update on Star Citizen. I've been making videos every so often about the progress of this game, the updates on it, and we've got a lot of new stuff. For those of you not familiar with Star Citizen, it's kind of hard to sum up in just a few words, but I'm going to try. It's a very large-scale space simulation game. It's going to have a persistent, massively multiplayer online universe, but it's also going to have sort of a dogfighting module where you can join into servers and just shoot it out in spaceships that don't matter in the persistent universe, and it's going to have an FPS module. You don't exist as spaceships in this game, you exist as pilots and characters that can actually get out of these ships and shoot the blasters that they might be carrying with them. The footage that you're looking at right now is the internals of the Retaliator heavy bomber that has recently been added into the game, and the internals on these ships are just insane, the externals as well. And if you would like, you can actually buy this ship in-game, load it into your hangar module, and test it out. I mean, the game's not out yet, the ship's not even flyable yet, but you can run around inside of it and just kind of check it out in the hangar module. And that is one of the ways that Star Citizen has been raising all of its money, is through crowdfunding. Actually, all its money comes through crowdfunding, but a lot of it comes from ship purchases. And at the time of making this video, they've raised $79 million, which is totally insane. I mean, it's not Destiny insane, but given the visuals of this game, you can definitely see where that money is going. A lot of it into the artwork. Now, this game is still in a pre-alpha phase at best, so why am I making a video right now? Well, there's been a bunch of cool new ships added. The Retaliator is one of them. Another one is the Gladiator, which is actually a 2-crew ship. It allows a second person to get into the turret. Now, multi-crew ship in multiplayer combat is something that the devs have been working on very seriously, and that should be coming out hopefully soon, hopefully this summer. But basically, you can kind of glitch it out in multiplayer right now and allow somebody else to get into the turret of the Gladiator by just landing the Gladiator on a flight pad, and your friend can actually land on that flight pad with their ship, get out of their ship, walk over into the Gladiator and get into the turret. Now, the turret user interface isn't really fleshed out yet. I don't even think it's really added into the game in any sort of serious way, but you can still fly around with it and see that it's actually functioning somewhat. Now, here's a little bit of footage of me flying around with my brother, who actually owns the Gladiator, and I'm gunning in the turret for him. But this is a pretty big deal because it's sort of an insight into what some of the multiplayer combat's going to be like, where you have the option to maybe choose between flying a single-man fighter ship or flying a multi-crew ship, and that could be a really cool tactical decision that you might have to make before a round. Personally, I can't wait to try out some of the larger multi-crew ships in multiplayer. The Constellation, for example, has got turrets above and below it. It's also got a very large cockpit, which I would call a bridge, actually. It's got like 3 seats on there, so that would just be amazing to see in multiplayer, and I can't wait to see how that actually looks and feels, especially when those larger ships are going up against fighters. Now, as you can see graphically, the game just keeps looking better and better. It's running on a heavily modified CryEngine 3. They have a lot of the original CryEngine developers on their team now. And without question, this game is probably going to become one of the benchmarking standards for PC gaming, just like the original Crysis was. Now let's talk a little bit about damage states. A lot of the original ships have been completely reworked and remodeled to show extensive damage, and the damage is not just going to be like predetermined damage areas. It's all going to break apart as you shoot it. So depending on where your shots land on the enemy ship, that's how it's going to break apart, and that's how it's going to affect its in-flight performance. And if you think this looks cool on single-seater fighter craft, imagine what it's going to look like on multi-crew ships or even massive ships like destroyers. They're planning on having the same type of damage models with even the giant ships. So this could be an insane-looking game when it's finally done. Now, this ship here is called the Redeemer, and it's pretty special because it was actually designed and built by fans of the game. They won a contest in Star Citizen. I think they won something like $35,000, and their ship that they built for the game got put into the game, and all the animations and textures and everything, it's going to be in the game when it launches, which is totally awesome, and I think it's really cool to get the community involved in such a big way with such a big project, because, I mean, this is a crowd-funded project. Why not let the community contribute in more ways than just money? Now there's tons and tons of small features that keep getting added into the Arena Commander model. For example, you now have the ability to do an auto landing, which is great. You know, landing your spaceship in 3D space can often be a tricky prospect, but they're basically programming in autopilots now, auto landing sequences. You can do it manually if you want to, but it's just kind of neat seeing all of these tools and assets come into play. There's also a very cool missile system that is ever evolving. There's multiple classes of missiles. There's cluster missiles that shoot out a whole bunch of missiles and take on your target, and they can flare and try and block most of them, but some of them will get through. So there's this whole missile countermeasure back and forth system going on right now. It's really cool to watch, and it's really exciting to think about what larger scale battles are going to be like, especially with some of these crazy weapon systems. Now, how about the first-person aspect of this game? This is something that is not just going to be like a little add-on element to the game. It's going to be a huge feature. There's going to be multiplayer game modes just for the first-person element. So if you are a shooter fan and you really don't want to fly your spaceship at all, there's still going to be something for you in Star Citizen. And honestly, this is kind of what inspired me to make this video right now, because the FPS module is just about ready to go. In fact, the devs say the FPS module is ready to launch. They just have to do a little bit more back-end server stability stuff just to make sure that the network stuff is up and running so they don't launch it and people can't play it. So everybody's just waiting around, waiting for that FPS module to launch so we can test it out. As soon as that launches, I'm going to be all over it. I can't wait to try it out. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff with it. They talk about it being sort of a cross between Arma and Battlefield in terms of the way that it feels. Like it should be easy to access, easy to play, but still have a lot of the realistic simulation aspects of Arma in a sense. So I can't wait to see what that actually looks like while I'm playing it. I hope the netcode is really good. I do remember playing a bit of Crysis 3 and thinking that it felt a little bit laggy and hit registration was a little off and stuff like that, but man, were the graphics amazing. Now it's kind of hard to wrap your head around what Star Citizen is as a package. I mean, is it a space sim game? Is it a shooter? Is it a story-driven narrative single-player game? Is it an MMO? It's really hard to say, and the only answer I can give you is that it's all of those things. And one thing that helps me wrap my head around it is just thinking about when the different modules are launching. The FPS module is launching pretty much ASAP whenever the devs just get the last bit of code ready, and then people can start testing that out in its alpha state. The multi-crew ships module should be coming out sometime this summer, and the first of 3 campaigns that are promised is going to be coming out at the end of this year. I'm actually really looking forward to the campaigns because it's going to be heavily focused on space combat, large fleet battles, that kind of thing. It just sounds amazing to me. Now, as far as the MMO aspect, the large persistent universe, that's scheduled for some time in 2016, and I believe it's going to be an alpha launch in 2016. So we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, the large-scale MMO persistent universe is the most work out of the whole game right now. It's going to be huge and crazy, and obviously has to be balanced as well. Now, I have seen a bunch of criticisms of this game just talking about the massive amount of money that it's receiving, and from a bunch of people who are like crazy fanatics and crazy about this game. It's not hard to see why people get so excited about the prospects of this title. And of course, there's the naysayers out there saying that this game will never live up to the aspirations and everything that it's promising to do, and that's entirely possible, but at the same time, it's an idea, it's a concept that I want to support, I want to believe in. It's certainly got me wrapped up in it, and I'm trying not to dedicate all my time just to reading the Star Citizen news, because there's so much more going on in the gaming world, but it's really exciting to follow the progress of this game. Anyway, that wraps it up for this Star Citizen update. There'll be more news covering the FPS module as soon as that launches. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.